The following live stream has been approved for restricted audiences only. It will definitely contain strong language and maybe some adult themes. Almost certainly. Viewer inebriation is advised.
Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to Last Call, where we often say, when the alcohol goes in, the negativity has to go somewhere else. And tonight, hopefully not a lot of negativity. We have looked at films, television, shows, and other entertainment from the past to get us through these dark, inept, and deconstructionist times. But tonight, we are going to get even more fundamental. We'll be discussing the original physical media, books. And tonight's subject matter expert is our very own regular co-host, that librarian in training, Aged Boomer. So get comfortable, top off your glasses, tell me what you're sipping on, and what you're currently reading in the chat, and we'll get this Canarble wagon rolling right now.
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
Wolf comes in and says, "How'd you learn to talk to animals?" And I said, "Books." And the wolf says, "Touche." And we had a good laugh about that.
Books! You can learn to talk to animals from them. Welcome, Vasalud, and it's good to see all of you. Hope you guys are all doing well. And, of course, as I always ask, what are you sipping on? But tonight, I am also asking, what are you reading? We'll get to what I've been reading lately, but... I'm sure you all want to know what I'm sipping on. And all of you that have joined me throughout the week on my various streams probably already know what it is. Those of you that, can read, since we're talking about books, probably already know what I'm having tonight.
Release the Kraken. Release the Kraken! The Kraken! Why is the rum always gone?
Well, it's not gone yet, but it's going. It is going. Just one second. Oh, it is. This is a strong one, but this Kraken rum is really, really sweet. So it sneaks up on you. You don't realize how strong it is. Let's say hi to all of you all. Starting with, first I'm seeing Curtis Selby. Good evening. I will be here for a while on my phone. I may go to the TV in a bit, so if I don't respond to chat, that will be why. The computer is in the shop. Yeah, those of you that joined us last night on Netters Network, we had a chit-chat with Curtis Selby. Problem was, his computer went foobar, so... he was actually commencing the stream through his phone. I thought it was...
and then it was actually... Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. Near the end, his electric went out. So it looked like we were talking to a ghost.
yeah, exactly right. And, of course, regular... how do you talk about Saturdays? He often has us guests on his show, but he's often Netter's co-host. However you look at the Saturday watch parties, it's Big Al Presents. He says, "Hello, my friends. Hope you have a great stream." Of course we will have a great stream because you were here to wish us one, and all of y'all are here wishing us well. You guys are awesome. Of course, Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Welcome. And, of course... the hostess with the mostest, Lady Mist. Thank you so much for being here, encouraging us with your emojis or those emoticons or whatever you want to call them.
Emoticons?
I suppose. And then, of course, Dee Dee Meyer Jr. Hello. Good to see you, my friend. You guys are saying hi to each other, which is always good.
I'm probably saying hi to people twice because there's so many people in the chat, so many comments like, did I say hi to them yet? I don't want to miss nobody.
Did I? Oh, there's Mr. Londell. Greetings. Currently reading Zen and the Art of Making a Living. I totally understand that. I don't know that one. I did not know that was a book, but I guess it doesn't really surprise me. There you go. Enjoying a Shiner Bach and reading for the fourth time Bushido, The Soul of Japan by Inazo, I'm going to butcher this, Nitobi? Best as I can figure. And guys saying hi to each other. That's always awesome. JPRPH1, welcome, welcome. Deleted Scenes. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Salute. Let's see. And let's get this pretty lady in here. Forthwith and necessarily. How are you, my dear, and what are you sipping on?
I am doing well. It is Friday. It's the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually a very easy week for me, which I really liked because I've had some tough weeks at work, and this one wasn't bad. So,
Yep.
what's that? You say salute?
Salute.
I am drinking, of course, a Netter's Nectar, which is cranberry grape juice with some coconut rum, specifically Malibu coconut rum. And what I am currently reading, well, you know, a lot of you might know the book series The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. Well, I'm reading a parody book on that called The Dragon with the Girl Tattoo.
Yeah. I think that's totally cool. And Sir Torrin Clegane, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Do you have any plays coming up in the near future, or are you going to take a break for a while? Let's see. Hello again. I think that merits another shout out. That's fair.
And of course, we are simulcasting on my channel and Boomer's channel, so if you wouldn't mind going over there and giving us a thumbs up on each of ours,
absolutely,
that would be greatly appreciated.
Of course, I've got the Rumble stream up as well.
And if you drop a hello,
I'm also on. What's it called? The Twitter tweets, X, whatever you want to call it these days. Jesse Guajardo, welcome. And Samuel Proctor just came home from a wedding reception. That's always nice. That is always nice. Let's see. David Pensek, good to see you, my friend. Let's see.
Did you see Madanui? I think he was right around there.
I didn't. I may have mistook his icon for Samuel Proctor, so I apologize. Madanui, I'm not seeing your comment right now, but Netter's got an eye out for you. Oh, there you are. There you are. Where do I find such books? I want that squirrel to know I think he's an asshole. Netter feeds the squirrels every day, and she complains, because she also feeds the birds, and she complains that the squirrels get into the bird food and they get it all over the place. So I saw a meme that I had to print out, and she's got it up in her office. It's a squirrel up on its hind legs going like this, and it's, what is it saying? It's like,
oh, look at me, I'm a human.
I walk on two legs. You don't eat the food you're supposed to eat.
Oh,
blah, 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 blah.
Wait, I have to get this.
Yeah. She's gonna. I'll even show it to you because I'll be able to put it up on camera. Yep. Let me continue saying hi to everybody while she's getting that. And of course, Agent Boomer, let's get your ass in here. How you doing, my friend? What are you sipping on? You said it wasn't alcoholic tonight.
No, I do have a Sioux City Sarsaparilla.
Nice.
In the bottle.
Nice.
Remember Big Lebowski when Sam Elliott shows up at the bar and they said, "What you having?" He says, do you have sarsaparilla? We have Sioux City sarsaparilla. And he says, "That's a good one." That's what I got here.
There you go.
Specifically.
There you go.
Specifically
nice.
Sioux City sarsaparilla. Look at that. I took the cap off and the little misty vapors.
Isn't that nice?
Out the top.
Isn't
I like
that nice?
it.
So I take it it's a glass bottle.
Glass bottle. Got it from
guys. You know, they talk about what is it, BHPs and the plastic and everything. You can taste it. The difference is just. So what does it say? It says Look at me, I'm a human. Stay away from the bird feeder. You're eating all the bird seed. Blah, blah, blah.
What?
Because squirrels are assholes, just like Matanui said.
My uncle used to feed the squirrels, and we were like, what are you doing? Because they start coming on your property when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. You feed the squirrels, they'll keep coming back. But then again, on the other side of it, if we go like for the weekend, we're busy, and Netter doesn't get a chance to feed the squirrels. She's like, I haven't fed the squirrels all weekend. I'm like, those poor little bastards are starving to death. Don't you feel terrible? She's they're not starving to death. I'm like, yes, they are. They're gonna waste away to skin and bones.
What gets me is I feed these little birds pretty much every day. And I've been doing it for about 5 years now.
Yep.
Not once has any of those stupid squirrels come up to me.
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as they see me, they run. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
They are twitchy little things.
Life is not an old Disney movie. You know, the little woodland creatures don't come up to the princesses. Darth Plato, yeah, I keep all my books too. It's hard. It's hard getting rid of books. It's like sacrilege, right? To get rid of books.
Our front room, I turn into a library.
Yeah. And every now and again I'll look and I'll go, are there books up here that we are never going to read again? If so, we probably need to pass them along. Nate, welcome. Good to see you, my friend.
But I've already, purged so many books.
Well, we may have to purge some more, because if we don't, there's no room for any more. Reading Model Railroader that just arrived. Yes.
Magazine?
Yep.
I miss magazines.
Yeah, well, you know.
Hobbyist
said
magazine.
gasoline, not Vaseline. Not gasoline, Vaseline.
I used to get gaming
What's
magazines.
That about? I didn't say either. What are you talking about?
I thought that was in the title or something.
No, reading Model Railroader. It just arrived. He's Mark is a railroad guy. He's got a whole room dedicated to a train setup. And what was really funny was he did this road section with the buildings and stuff, and it was a specific neighborhood. And it just turns out I happen to know not only the neighborhood he had built up, but the specific building he had that was right adjacent to the tracks was a warehouse that I used to have to go to from time to time when I worked at a video store to pick up videotapes directly from the distributor. I usually have 3 books I'm reading: an audio book, a physical book, and scripture. There you go. Good on you. So right now I'm reading a lot of history and nonfiction. Great Mortality, a book on the Black Death. Yep. The Christians as the Romans saw them, and the Old Testament, 1 Kings. Good. Let's see. The Christians as the Romans saw them book is the one I'm reading as reference for my short story that's set in Neronian Rome. Interesting.
He was not a nice guy.
No.
He's a very bad,
especially not
actually.
to the Christians.
No,
Troy, I'm currently reading on a app from for Japanese manga, the anime series that didn't get a second season for dumb reasons. Okay, good. Little rodent will regret its very existence. There you go. Let's see here. And YouTube kept filter. You're not allowed to say rodent? Well, you did this time, apparently.
You're not allowed to say rodent?
I don't know. I guess not.
I just did. I'm sorry.
A little rodent. I mean, she literally meant rodent. Book nerds unite! 6, it's been so long. It's good to see you, my friend. 6, what are you reading lately? And what are you sipping on?
All right. You're not a person. You're a rodent.
He didn't mean you, 6. He was referencing what Matanui said.
I know.
Sipping on Kentucky Common Amber Cream. Oh, that sounds really good.
It does.
Oh, from work. Okay. It's not officially out till tomorrow, but I have an inside line on it. There you go.
It
Always
sounds very
the best.
smooth.
Based on my work schedule right now, I am planning on... I'm not planning on anything. Of course, I hope it's just this month in June and I can go back to doing things again. Well, keep us posted. Keep us posted. Doctor and author Omega Outlaw, how are you doing, my friend? Had to like all 3 channels. Good.
Thank you, Omega Outlaw.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Samuel Proctor has a comment here. Do I feed the birds tuppence a bag?
Well, not these days. Not with the way inflation is going. We're talking sovereigns here at this point.
Yeah, it's like to get the big, I think it's a 25-pound bag or 15-pound bag from Menards. It's
more than 25 pounds, British pounds.
Yeah, it's expensive. I bought
expensive.
2 last time because they were on sale, and I was saving like $5 a bag, so I bought 2.
We have a fence all the way around our yard, so it's obviously easy for birds and squirrels to get in.
And an occasional chipmunk.
Occasional chipmunks. We, at one point, I was like, I'm going to just have a headache if I look out one day and see like a deer eating the but then I realized we've got a fence. The deer are not going to jump over the fence to get into our backyard.
They might.
Oh, Funopola.
We also get raccoons.
And Sin of Sin's Corner. Hello. Happy Friday. Currently listening to
Arnold's
book, Be Useful. And reading Blood Fever by Karen Marie Moaning.
Are you guys on Goodreads?
I am, but I never use it for anything. And I don't keep up with it, and I don't post there like I should, so yeah. And let's see, just watched The Big Lebowski this past Sunday for a live stream. I'll be on next week. There you go. That's going to have to be a Monday watch party for me because I have not yet watched it, and I need to. First time watching The Big Lebowski for you. Only saw it because I had to. Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same situation because I've been saying I'm going to watch it for so long. See, 6 feeds the squirrels too. It's all you Disney princesses. That's what you guys do. I get it. If you feed the squirrels, it makes them easier to hunt. See, it's funny you say that, Nate, because I have thought exactly that. Things have gotten pretty bad, and I'm like, you know what? Comes right down to it. Them squirrels good eating.
Some Disney fans feed the birds tuppence.
Tuppence a bag. Tuppence a bag. I'll tell you what, I have the
Yeah, he's got toppins, not tuppence, but I knew what he meant.
Yeah. I have the CD of the soundtrack for Mary Poppins is the extended one that's got linear notes by the
songwriters, the something brothers, right?
Yeah,
they were in the movie Saving Mr. Banks, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, if I haven't even seen Saving Mr. Banks,
it's really
but
good,
I think the story is actually retold there. They tell it on the audio CD, where they tell the story of Tuppence a bag and how
you have seen it. You watched it with me.
Did I?
Yeah, because that's how I saw it. Because you put it up on the big screen, which I can't do because you have the controls of it.
I must have done then. Yeah.
It was with Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and he talks about how, much later in his career, he would, get a little nostalgic and a little misty-eyed, and he'd look out the window and he'd just say, "Play it for me." And I knew what he meant, and he'd play Tuppence a Bag. And I'll tell you what, that song really does always kind of bring a tear to my eye. I love that tune. Darth Plato is reading Kissinger's book on diplomacy and proofreading the treatise on Tsar Paul, and Tsar Paul I, and the Second League of Armed Neutrality. There you go. Yep. Don't want to know what you're doing with Vaseline. It's none of my business. One can never have too many books.
6 says, Disney sucks. Netter and I are non-denominational princesses.
I want to make a comment on that.
I thought that as I said it. The fact is, I kind of meant like classic Disney.
So now you must be fans of the Shrek universe then. Because that's
yeah.
It's a way to still like the fairy tales while still thumbing your nose at Disney. You know what? I haven't gotten around to Tulsi's book yet. That's definitely on my to watch eventually. Okay.
He
She's
hoards
a veteran,
good books.
right?
Hell, you write good books, Adega Outlaw.
Yes, he does.
I'm trying to find books based on behind the scenes on cartoon shows from my childhood. Very interesting. Very interesting. If you have any good recommendations, let me know. Good book about Christians in Rome, the destroyer of the gods. There you go. Interesting. You know what? I'll have to make a note of that. That sounds like something to check out. And welcome. I'm going to butcher this one. I have Nordic. I get it. Very clever. Let me say it the right way. I have no dick. There you go. Reading the Tropic of Cancer, and I'm loving it. Good. I'm about to start The Chimp and the River by David Quammen. On the origins of AIDS. And sucking on a cherry coke. Actually, it's funny you say that, Six, because my rum and coke is actually rum and cherry coke zero.
There you go. Good stuff.
No. That's fine. That's fine. Sucking on, that's fine too. However, you need to consume your beverage. Sipping or sucking, I'll tell you, depending on what kind of a week you've had, could be sucking.
Well,
just get it down as quickly as possible.
Bottle, right?
I am not making a dirty joke. Stop looking at me that way.
All right. You didn't ask. At some point, you got to ask me what I'm reading. I'm just saying. Go get through the
I will, because you're going to have a whole thing to
Not a
to
presentation. I just have a image. But I have notes from the other article.
Adega is on Goodreads, which reminds me that I need to update. Yes, update it, because someone may want to update their Goodreads with the fact that they're reading an Adega Outlaw book. You never know. I have a family of... I almost read that as I have a family of robots. I have a family of rabbits in my yard, watching over them, feeding the birds, not the squirrels. Well, good luck with that. If you're feeding the birds, you're feeding the squirrels. And I know that you are a gardener, so hopefully you're not feeding the rabbits.
It's like I do give nuts to the squirrels, and I have bird seed specifically for the birds. But the bird seed has these little, like, sunflower seeds in them, but they're not sunflower seeds. They're smaller and black. Yeah. And the squirrels really seem to like them, but...
You know what, Nate? If there comes a day, I may have an opportunity to find out. Kind of hoping that day never comes. Not that I'm averse to eating squirrel or rabbit. Just saying I would hate to have to do so out of necessity.
And they don't get into the actual feeder. They only get what I happen to drop on the ground.
Because they're lazy. They know they don't have to.
Plus, they can't get into the bird feeder.
I do have a line of books waiting to be read after my current ones. John Adams by David McCall. Oh, I bought that book for Netter.
Yes, I love that book.
Because John Adams is her favorite president. The original Sherlock Holmes books. Yeah, I have a collection tome myself. Read the whole thing. Read every Sherlock Holmes story, but that includes the books.
And Plato said, "Is there a bad reads?"
I'm sure there are. And you're right. I just got to the comment about Disney sucks. I know that.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. They're about the half size of a sunflower seed, and the shell is black.
I misread this for a second. I thought he was calling me a commie.
Well, okay then.
I have no dick. I feel like Greg from that what is that from Honeywood? Like when it gets hacked and he has no control over what he says. I have no dick. I have no dick.
Well, it's not everything, right? Well, kind of is.
Exactly. Yes, Mark, defund Disney. You know what? They are doing a fine job of doing it themselves. It's slow, but they're definitely getting defunded. Right. Come to find out, did you hear Midnight? I can't remember now if it was Midnight's Edge or no, it might have been Valiant Renegade was just reporting. Apparently, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did not get a profit. So apparently, literally every film that was released by Disney failed to break even. It's amazing. Disney princesses are aristocracy, therefore they're out. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yes. When it comes to comic books, I've been reading random ones I get from the budget YouTube auction. I love comics. All pre-90s Marvel and DC. Those are probably the best. Your super chats aren't working again, Troy. That's because I don't have super chats. I am about...
He's working on it.
I'm about 200 or 300 watch hours away from getting monetized.
Where is it?
Lester San Jose, the Skeptic Tank. Hope you're feeling well, my friends. Been reading Wheat Belly. That sounds like something about health and food, which is probably a good one to be reading.
Okay, if you want to... Wait a minute, where to go?
I'm sure there's plenty of conspiracy people here, Putin's cat. If you have a recommendation of a good book on conspiracy theories, I'd love to hear about it. Troy, I do have a collection of history books from generals, weapons, tanks, battles, warships, and aircraft. There you go. Right now, the comics I'm reading, Silver Age Green Lantern trade with Fantastic Four 257, Batman 495, and 500, and Wonder Woman Volume 2, Issue 104, on a watch list pile. There you go.
Okay, there you go. I fixed your super chat for you.
Oh. There we go.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Thank you, Netter. Let's see. Everyone's saying hi to each other, too. I am getting caught up. I'm almost there.
Don't rush, because I'm going to put together a mini presentation. Okay.
Yeah, they can't get into the bird feeder. The pole is greased. Oh, gosh.
We'll have you talk about your books first. All right.
Fair enough.
And then, of course, there's Putin's cat.
All right. I'm going to look for here.
Just a little bit further down from where you're at.
Did it actually break even? Yeah, that's zero profit, though. That's zero profit. Valiant Renegade once put a Glock on the screen to tell us how tough he was. Well, and demonetized.
What?
Oh no, the guys in the gun tube area are having a really hard time, as you would expect. Welcome, Mr. Matchstick. In between books right now, just finished 50-hour audiobook last week called The Oriental History by William Durant. Covers the Middle East, India, China, and Japan. That I can understand why it's a 50-hour audio then. Yeah, that's
sounds interesting.
That's a pretty heavy duty thing. So yeah. So obviously, I've got my for Christmas I got my whiskey book, my bourbon book, my bartender's guide. But what I'm actually reading on a regular basis is I got the novelizations of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Just kind of getting started. What's interesting is, and this brings me to something that I wanted to bring up. I mentioned this last week. I miss movies movie novelizations, right? I'm not talking about books that are made into movies. I'm talking about movies that are, that someone does a novelization for. They used to do that for everything. I have the novelizations of the first 3 Star Wars movies, Indiana Jones 2, and I loved them because, you could kind of relive the movie, but there's more story there. And in fact, the opening segment in the first Ghostbusters book is what was actually a deleted scene that I now have on the Blu-ray collection. I don't remember the characters' names, and it's too dark for me to read right now. But Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray play hobos on the streets of New York. Imagine that. Homeless in New York? Who would have thought such a thing? And they're talking about, what are they talking about? They're talking about books in the library because they're outside the library. And one of the bums says to the other one, those are dangerous. He says, what, books? He goes, ideas. They're the most dangerous thing there are. And I'm like, he's got a point. He's got a point. There is power in books because they contain ideas. And that's why you always hear about these totalitarian regimes doing book burnings, because they
still want to do that.
Ideas.
They want to do that today.
Well, that's why we have a First Amendment, right? To prevent the government from doing that.
Yes.
The government doesn't have a right to do that. It's up to you, the people, to band together and make sure that individual groups aren't doing that. The notes are going by pretty quick. I'm a bit miffed. I came off a channel that mistakenly brought up some history, but then they told me to stop talking about the real history. Oh, Putin's cat. With a name like Putin's cat, you're going to be bringing up some history, right? I had the novelization from the movie The Phantom. It's around here somewhere. Good. I need to finish reading The Swarm. Oh, yeah. I heard several months ago they're making a movie of it. Yeah, I read that a long time ago. I have his third one on my shelf, Caesar and Christ. Interesting. It came with a cool map of Trojan-era Rome and Italy. There you go. Samuel Proctor, if you're not already, make sure that you're subscribed to the Metatron. He's got a lot of videos you'd probably really, really enjoy. They're canceling some books here too. Yeah. The pen is truly mightier than the sword. That is true. Reading Dean Koontz from the corner of his eye. I love Dean Koontz, and I'll tell you what. You can keep Stephen King. If he never writes another book, I don't care. Dean Koontz is where it's at for me.
He's one of my favorite authors.
Yeah, me too. Has anyone here, and please comment, has anyone here read the book Lightning by Dean Koontz? I would love to know.
I have.
I know you have. Gowron said to Picard, have you ever fought an idea?
I'll be right back.
It has no body to kill. That's absolutely true. That was the episode Rightful Heir. He was dealing with the fact that the second coming of Kalash had occurred. Well, you pronounce it human. I pronounce it Klingon.
I see.
Kalash. Yeah. How do you fight an idea? I mean, that would be like the President of the United States trying to deal with the second coming of Christ.
Gowron did not like the Kalis clone.
Yeah, no, he didn't. But they came to an
happy.
agreement. They came to an agreement, and it made sense. Trolls got a troll, absolutely. I've had trolls here on occasion, and I feel that I have such high respect for my chat that even the trolls are above average. Not many know the origin of my name, Putin's cat. Troy, just ask General Thompson, the guy who made Tommy from reading the failed patent on a machine gun. Oh, yeah. Brandon Herrera did a video about that. Been watching Metatron for years. Good. You are a noble one. Let's see. I think I might start back on reading The Exorcist. It's funny you mention that because that's not it. I just picked up, or Netter picked up for me,
What?
the 9th configuration. We will, of course, be doing, eventually I will get around to doing a double feature of the original Exorcist and the 9th configuration, which many believe to be the true Exorcist 2. And we'll discuss why that is when we do the rewatch. I hope booktubing with Troy and Netter becomes a regular thing. Can't promise it, but it's worth thinking about. You know who could convince us to do that would be deleted scenes, because I know that was a passion of his and something he wanted to get going. So maybe with his help, we can strike something up. I own the book, the books I read, so I have them in case they start banning them. That's what I said at the top of the show. It's the original physical media. You can kill an idea if you discredit it. Really? Then why are people still trying to make communism a thing? You'll never convince anyone of anything. There's no such thing as discrediting an idea, because people are dumb.
Whoa!
I'm reading The Shack by William Paul Young and continuing education articles for my other job. That makes sense. Troy, the last novel I read was Dragon Teeth by the late Michael Crichton. Yeah. Absolutely. Michael Crichton, if you've seen the movie, don't let this put you off it. Read the book Timeline by Michael Crichton. I took a bunch of friends to see that movie because I had read the book and I was so excited, and the movie was terrible. I was like, I felt like Michael Crichton had done for time travel what he had done for, dinosaurs and genetics.
Why
and
don't
stuff.
they redo that instead of another Jurassic Park movie and do it right?
I know, right? Well, because there's no franchise in it. You can't sell toys related to it. You can't probably get a
Aren't
sequel.
there medieval
out of
knights
it.
in it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't know. It's France, right? Was that right? Did the movie get that right? Was it medieval France?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
I can't remember which side of the channel it was on. Either way, language was a barrier. So everyone that was going back in time had to very quickly brush up on it. And one of the guys was a linguist, and he's listening to this audio tape of someone, saying certain words. He's going, "That's brilliant pronunciation. But how do you know that this is how they pronounced it?" He says, "We've already had people there." He's like, "Oh," and you start geeking out when you start looking at it from the point of view of these academics. If you're a linguist who studies ancient languages, and then you're given an opportunity to go back in time to that time to hear how it was pronounced, I don't think enough people realize. People talk about dead languages, but languages usually are not dead. We have ways of figuring out how languages that have not been spoken in our lifetime were pronounced, usually by looking at, especially things like songs and poems and stuff where there's rhymes. You figure, okay, well, we know how this word was pronounced, therefore this word had to rhyme with it, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there was that the English father and son who was really into doing plays and talking about,
right,
this is how this word would have,
how Elizabethan English was pronounced.
yeah, this is
exactly.
how it would have been pronounced. It doesn't look anything like it is today.
Most people, when they perform Shakespeare, will, even if they don't change any of the words, they will change the pronunciation so that people understand them. But it is almost like a completely different language. You don't sell toys anymore anyway, at least not to children. mostly to crazy old men like most of the people in this chat, including the host. Absolutely. No, I disagree with that, Sir Torn. Children will still buy and play with toys. The problem is that none of the franchises are of any interest to the kids. Those early Marvel films, the toys sold like crazy.
Hey, kids like those a lot. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they stopped selling when people stopped going to the movies because the movies started to suck. There is a direct relationship there. Michael Crichton wrote a lot of books that ended up as movies. Yeah, they did, and none of them do. That's kind of the point of our topic tonight, is that there have been a lot of movies that have been translated into film or some other medium, but you're better off almost always reading the books. There's very few times, but there has occasionally been times where I could look at a movie, especially like miniseries and whatever, and gone, this might actually be a little bit better than the book. An author I've been reading a ton is Brandon Sarandon. He mostly does huge epic fantasy books. His characters, worlds, and magic are always so satisfying to read. I'll tell you, the thing about magic in a fantasy setting, plan out your rules and stick to them. Imagine that, having some sort of continuity in your books.
You mean like Doctor Who used to have?
Like most of our franchises used to have. People, when they come inside my house, ask why why you have so many books. What are they for? Thinking it's a trick question, I simply answer saying for reading. They always seem to be shocked. Yeah. And even after you've read it, like you said, so that you still have it, in case you want to go back to it. And comics swap the characters too, like Ironheart for 20. Yeah, absolutely. As much as I adore the Jurassic Park movie, the book is better. Yeah, those first two books actually are better, in my opinion, than the first two movies, and those are the best movies. And hey, Sashi, good to see ya. Terry Goodkind is a good fantasy too.
Wheel of Time, is that right? Or am I thinking of something else? Is he Shannara?
I don't know.
Sort of Shannara? I'm trying to remember. Okay.
So let's get this up there and
These are just books I've read throughout my life that stand out, and I put this together in the last 10 minutes. So let's see how it works, okay?
There you go.
I went in reverse order from books I'm reading now to books I read as a child. So not going to be a ton of stuff, but it's a simple presentation. But here we go. The Big Book of Adventure Stories.
Are these like reprints of pulp stories?
Yes, but also famous stories. Like, there's all sorts of things. This is what I've been reading lately, because I'm going to be doing a thing on adventure writing for the library, so I figured I'd get caught up on all these adventure stories. I love this cover. The sailor down there... Here we go.
Sorry, but to answer your question, Jerry Goodkind
Robert Jordan, yes, I get those confused sometimes. Sorry. I think the sailor down there has a high-quality problem.
Yeah.
And then you have the guy
Death by Snooze too. I mean, why not?
And then you have the guy up top, and what are those? Are those leopards or jaguars or whatever? They're jaguar. I don't know. I'm not. Big cats are about to attack him underneath a totem. Panthers. That's what those are. Those are panthers. Okay. And it looks like they're about to attack him underneath that totem. Now, what more do you need in a cover, right?
It gets you to read it, right? It's just like so many of the thumbnails I see on YouTube videos. It's like, you know what? There may not be any scantily clad women in the actual story, but you got it on the cover. And Jesse says, you do know that Michael Crichton had a lot of problems with his publisher when it came to the first draft for Jurassic Park because he wanted a horror book and not a kid's book. Yeah, that kind of sucks. And I also understand why so many authors now are, just like so many movie makers are choosing to go independent. A lot of authors are looking to self-publish because you got these editors and publishers that they're thinking from a marketing standpoint, and they're not interested in what you want to make. But The fact is, but that's also the other story on Michael Crichton is he never wanted there to be a sequel to Jurassic Park at all. The only reason he wrote the second book was because he knew they were going to be doing a movie, and he's like, well, I may as well cash in. They're going to do it anyway, so.
But I like the comments coming up about the cover.
The sailor,
yeah,
right,
that's a great
that,
cover. Yeah. The sailor is eaten right after that. I don't know. It might be worth it if I think something else is going to happen. Okay, anyway. What was I going to say? Let me talk to you a little bit about this book before we move on. Okay, read that, and then we'll get to the book. I just want to tell you a little bit about this one, then we'll move on. All right. Languages aren't really dead, just those who spoke them are. Yeah, I guess that
true.
makes a point.
I also wrote some like Karen Travis books.
So I've been reading. There are a lot of authors in this book. This is like a who's who of adventure writing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had. I read The Man Who Would Be King by Rudyard Kipling. That's in here. I read. I read a depressing Jack London story. That's in here. And the neat thing, before you get to each story, there's a little preface as to the author's life and what he did.
Right.
Apparently, Jack London died at age 41 he self-deleted, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And apparently he was a raging alcoholic, but at one point he was making a lot of money on his writing. He got paid like...
You know what? So did Hemingway.
Yeah. It's nuts. I think Call of the Wild was like one of the most popular books of its time when it came out.
Yep.
I remember Jack London was on that episode of Star Trek, remember?
Mm-hmm.
He was talking to Mark Twain. But I had a crush on Jack London in high school. Okay. Yeah. Are you talking about the actor who played him on Star Trek or the actual writer? Maybe the actual writer.
Could be either way, yeah.
But yeah, no, this is a big mammoth volume. Otto Penzler puts these out. And
are they abridged or are they unabridged?
No, they're not abridged, but the text is kind of tiny. What I do with some with these, because I didn't have a lot of time to really read while I was doing schoolwork, I got the audio book on Audible, and it's like 70 hours long, or like 50 hours long, and it's just chock full of all these stories. So I was just listening to them on the way to and from work, and there are some wonderful stories in here. I did a Clark Ashton Smith story about a guy that gets infected by a plant while exploring some ruins, and the plant basically eats him from the inside out and takes over his body. I think I'm on the part of the book where the adventure stories don't go well for the adventurers, but it's a ton of stuff, ton of good fiction in there. I'm hoping to get through it, but they of course had a Conan story in here as well, but we'll get to Conan later, but by Robert E. Howard. But good little by the book cover. Reads really booby books. I don't know. Well, legs aren't so bad. Anyway, I'm not going to spend.
Well, if it wasn't reviewed in Playboy magazine, maybe it's not worth reading.
Maybe. I did read. This is the book I read prior to Big Book Adventure Stories. This is the original from Russia.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I'm not going to get too much into the Fleming books tonight because I know I'm going to save that for our Bond talk. But this was an excellent book. This had like an ending where I was screaming. I'm like, okay, when's the next chapter? Oh no, this is where he ended it. Bond is not in a good spot. Let me just put it to you that way at the end of this book. This is a terrifying read. This is the Smersh, the evil spy ring, evil anti-spy ring in the Soviet Union. They're saying we're going to take out a hero of the English spy agencies, and they pick Bond, and they set a trap for Bond. And it's very calculating. I don't want to. And the first part of the book is just from the villain's perspectives, or from the Soviet perspective, before it even gets to Bond. Like the first third is just all the villains. It's a fascinating read. This was John F. Kennedy's favorite book. Did you know that? Yeah, it's okay. Hey, you don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe you're not kidding.
Legs are nice
too. Anyways, I'll keep my mouth shut anyway. Anyway, but what was I going to say? But yeah, no, that was that's how you got men to buy those adventure magazines back then. You want adventure, you want beautiful women and horrible beasts and, guns and whatnot. But here's From Russia with Love. Excellent book. Better than the one that came prior to it, which was Diamonds Are Forever. I'll rant about that on the Bond stream.
Okay.
That's like my favorite worst Bond movie, and the book was worse, and I thought that was shocked because I thought, they screwed up. No, I didn't like the book either, but we'll get to
There
that
you
later.
go.
This I read in recent years. Davis Grubb, The Night of the Hunter. Ever hear of this book or maybe
I
the
don't
movie?
think so, no.
Never heard of the movie?
No.
Okay, this is a great little Southern Gothic thriller novel written in the 1950s. This features one of the greatest villains in American fiction, a man posing as a preacher who's really a psychopath, but it's a perfect guise because he can just spout. And I don't know if he thinks maybe on some level he is doing God's work, but he tends to marry women and then murder them off. And there are these kids, and they know where the money their dad stole from the bank is, and it's an excellent read.
I'm not drinking fast enough. That's the problem.
Night of the Hunter is a
I'm
fantastic
feeling
film.
I'm feeling a little soft around the edges. I'm getting there.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Book is great too. I do recommend the book to read. It's a pity. This is another sad thing about writers, though, because he wrote Night of the Hunter. This book survives because of the movie, because the movie is a very well-renowned movie. But I'd love to pick up his short stories, but they're not currently in print. Apparently, a lot of his short stories were used for, like, I think Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes and maybe even Twilight Zone. I'm not sure. But it's a pity that this is the only thing of his still in print is Night of the Hunter. Clockwork Orange. Have you ever read this?
Trying to get me drunk here, Lady Miss? That's fair. Oh, Clockwork Orange. Yeah, I've never read the book.
That's I don't want to say it's a challenging read, but it's all spoken in this futuristic slang, like it was in the movie. Remember the movie, all the future slang? And this does have the portion of the book that included almost an idea that maybe the main character gets reformed at the end a little bit, like he says. Well, because I think his conditioning breaks at the end, but then he decides, well, actually, I'm spoiling the book. Never mind. Let me not talk
You know, you're right, Samuel. That is one way to find. But the problem is that when a book goes out of print, the list value shoots through the roof. People will sell these things on. They'll list them for like $150, and it's like, I can't afford that.
There's a wonderful book that came out a few years ago called Paperbacks from Hell. I don't know if you've heard of this book. It was written by a guy that writes horror novels now, Grady Hendrix, right? He wrote the paperbacks and it's all these horrific paperbacks from the 1970s and 80s, and it apparently, I kind of think how we have all these B-horror movies on TV, there were B-horror novels as well, which I think we've all forgotten about. Some of them are still in print. They get better covers now, but this was big, and this book is filled with all of these paperbacks from hell.
Well, people
and then I go looking on eBay for some of these books, and they've skyrocketed in value. These crusty paperbacks go for a lot of money. He did start a line where he's reprinting them as newer paperbacks now. Some of them from the book are now getting reprinted, but yeah, it was really hard to find.
People forget that the concept of pulp fiction, those were the like what B films are today. That's what the B books were, and they were literally published on pulp paper. And sometimes you will find books in bookstores and libraries where it's printed on pulp paper, and that paper is so brittle you can't even turn the page. You could just crumble. It just crumbles in your hand.
That acidic paper. It falls apart. And some books are printed on really good paper. In fact, what was funny about the reprints of those paperbacks from hell reprints is that they're the same size of those old paperbacks, but they're printed on so much nicer paper. It's like the clean white paper, which I thought probably why they charge more money for them than you would have. Because keep in mind, these things were something you'd buy at
This is what I'm talking about.
For a couple bucks at a grocery line or something.
This is what I'm talking about. What Darth Plato is saying. He was looking for a book and it was listed at $1,000.
Horrible.
Look, unless we're talking like something that was an original print by Leonardo da Vinci or something like that. Don't even come at me with four plus figures for a book.
Ridiculous.
Right? There is and here's another thing. When it goes out of print, especially if it's out of copyright, that needs to be out there somewhere on Gutenberg or something like that.
Or even e-readers. You know, what I mean, they made a point of all these e-readers. You know, it doesn't cost anything to put something on a store, does it? But maybe it does. I'd love to get a copy of Ray Bradbury of the Foghorn.
Now, here's the problem. So Ray Bradbury books are probably not in the public domain yet. But I still feel like if there's a publisher who owns the rights to those and it's not in print, F you. Put the damn thing out, or I'm going to start making friggin' photocopies of a book and giving it out to my friends.
There we go. Slaughterhouse-Five. Love this one.
Oh, yeah.
Giant list of books. These books are in town. Whenever one of them comes in, she texts me. I picked up tons of books I've been looking for that way. Hey, that's a good idea. Get your books how you can get them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But Kurt Vonnegut, remember Slaughterhouse-Five?
I do.
This was a good one. I read this one like about 10 years ago, I think. That was an excellent read. Good sense of humor he has. There are aliens in this book, too, and also World War II stuff.
Yep.
If you can believe both of those can exist in the same book, okay?
I mean, Turtle Dove based his whole career on it.
That's true, yes. Big favorite of mine.
That's not a recommendation on my part, by the way.
Galactic Patrol, E.E. Doc Smith, probably my favorite science fiction writer. This is the first book written in the Lensman Chronicles, so I recommend this. About kind of an intergalactic police force, and they're going up against this group of very sophisticated space pirates, and then you realize, well, these aren't really pirates, are they? They're more organized, and there's something more sinister controlling them. But it's an excellent book. I don't know if this is the first book that did this, but I think E. Doc Smith, other writers at the time, they were the ones first introduced that maybe aliens and humans could work together as opposed to us attacking the aliens, right? That was, seen in later science fiction. But I meant hardcover, not hard copy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
iRobot. You've read this?
Oh, I love the Asimov robot novels.
Yes.
Yep. All of them.
This.
All of them. And yes, I again, you really should read the books before thinking you, because honestly, that book that was called iRobot was really based on a book called Caliban.
Really?
Yeah. It was Caliban. If you look it up, it says Asimov, but it was like one of those ones that it just has his name on it, and it was actually written by another author. But it's related to iRobot. I don't remember if you... It's been so long, I can't remember, and I'm also kind of getting a little fuzzy here, so I can't remember the details. I can't remember if it was like a sequel. I know that a lot of the robot novels had characters that crossed over, so not sure. But yes, Boomer, if you saw that Will Smith movie, which is not a bad movie.
It's not bad, but it wasn't. It didn't follow the books, and I thought at the time.
But that's why you need to read the book Caliban, and trust me, you will love that book if you read it.
I thought they could have just, because this always struck me as a series of stories about robots, all centered around the same lady scientist, and I thought maybe the Will Smith movie could have been considered just another story.
I hadn't thought of that perspective.
The trouble is, though, they did cast an actress as the lady scientist in that movie, and she's much younger in the movie than she is in the book, so that's why it didn't work.
Right. So yes, the book is, but it is more closely related to the book Caliban. And which it's funny because the name of the robot that is self-aware without the or with the modified three laws is named Caliban, from the book, but I don't remember what they called him in the movie. They didn't call him Caliban, so most people don't make that connection. But I love that book so much, that's why I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is Caliban. This isn't iRobot. They're using the more well-known novel, but it's not that story there. Yeah. Check out Caliban. It's worth it. If you look it up, Caliban by Asimov, you'll find it, even though I don't think Asimov really wrote it at all.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll look for Caliban. All right. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Oh, what's Corville Nation saying?
I love that. Troy doesn't work his ass off. He works his Asimov.
That's funny.
I really like Isaac Asimov. I have I think all the Asimov books.
All the collections of stories, absolutely.
Those
Including Asimov was the one that wrote Bicentennial Man, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those anime fans out there too, you owe it to yourself to read some Asimov, because a lot of the rules for robotics, the Japanese animators also use those same rules on a lot of their robots.
I find it amazing that Asimov came up with the concept of the 3 laws of robotics, and now as we're getting into generative AI, fuck the rules. Who gives a crap? Okay, great. When they wipe us out, fuck you.
We have a bunch of people in Silicon Valley that are acting like Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly.
Zuckerberg.
And it's funny you mention Frankenstein, because Asimov, and I don't know the exact quote, I'm paraphrasing. He said that when he came up with the 3 laws of robotics, he said there were 3 kinds of robot stories out there. There was the robot as monster, which was basically like Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
And there was the God out of the machine, where the robot was, the superior, take care of everything, or wipe everything out. And he said there is an interesting story that's somewhere in between. And if you use the 3 laws of robotics, you can get some very, very interesting stories.
But, you only ever hear 3 laws when a robot isn't following. That's true.
Yeah.
In the anime,
well, it's interesting because did you know that in the... I think it was in Encounter at Farpoint, the original Star Trek The Next Generation pilot episode, Data claims to operate under the 3 laws of robotics. And he has a positronic brain.
But yeah.
And Orville is enjoying all the...
thank you. These I just found randomly in line, but these are some of these are from actual editions I read. Some of them I just picked because they look neat. But this one I had, I don't know if I still do. This was the War of the Worlds Edward Gorey edition, published in the 50s, and this has been reprinted since then. You might still be able to get it new too. This is the War of the Worlds with illustrated by Edward Gorey, of course. H.G. Wells. Loved this book when I read it. This actually
Hold on a second. Putin's cat is saying Data could kill. Very interesting that you say that, because the one time that is tested is in the Most Toys. And one can argue whether or not he intended to kill Kefas Fajo. Could he kill when it was necessary? Actually, I think he has that conversation with Picard at one point, too. Still surprised that this book has a real-world body count, mainly due to the radio broadcast. Okay, Jesse, I'm going to dispel a myth. This whole story about War of the Worlds, mostly an urban legend. Nobody freaked out. Nobody panicked. Nobody got killed because of War of the Worlds. I'm sorry. It's just not true. It's a legend. It's
Heard people were having heart attacks, thinking the world was coming to them. The Martians in their backyard. No.
Most people looked out their window, didn't see anything, called the police and said, "Is there really something going on?" And the police were all like, "We don't know what you're talking about," And of course, there was also the fact that it was announced that this story was coming up, so most people knew that it was just a regular radio show. So it's not. It's more marketing by Orson Welles than anything else. It's right up there. I mean, actually, this whole thing about the War of the Worlds and everyone believing it and panicking and people dying and stuff like that. That's right up there with people who believe that the Blair Witch was real, or that people really lined up during the stock market crash of the 20s to jump out, or the 30s or whatever it was, to jump out of windows and stuff like that.
Flying all over the place.
It wasn't true. It just wasn't true. I try to get the oldest affordable editions of the physical books. Ever since I got into the 4K 77 Star Wars cut, Oh, yeah. It's been I've been obsessed with consuming stories the way the original audience did. Yeah. Before things get edited and stuff like that. It's true. Oh, PJ, that is not only is that a great idea. Screw it. I am going to talk to Tom Conkle about that and tell him. Because he's got a whole troupe of actors, of voice actors, that do stuff like that online. That would be the way to go. Yeah. I'll reach out to Tom Conkle. That would be great.
Especially, who's the main actor in
Orson Welles.
No. The main actor in the movie he's going to be doing.
Well, we don't know for sure. He hasn't actually been cast yet.
No, the one has the elder actor.
Oh, yeah.
He would be great in that.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, that there's a lot of things, both voice and appearance, of Tom Conkle remind me of a young Orson Welles. So, I like that, Pootie. Some movies reference War of the Worlds as a real invasion that was put down. I like that concept. That is brilliant.
That was in Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, that's right. That's
Remember that? Yeah.
That's if you're not paying attention, you miss. It's just a little line drop.
Yep.
Following chat on. Oh, okay. JPRPH1 got his Apple TV box on Rumble, but I'm following chat on YouTube.
Yeah, that's good. You're
Longer delay on Rumble. That's interesting feedback. Did not realize that, and of course that comment is coming over from Rumble. So, oops, I just jumped. I knew people who walked out of the theater thinking Blair Witch was real. They were really freaked out. Well, to be fair, what was the movie? I think we talked about this when I did the rewatch of Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yeah.
That for a couple of weeks, I really believed that Eddie and the Cruisers was based on a true story.
Yeah. That's a good name for a band, you have to admit.
Oh, yeah, Mark. There's no doubt. If the aliens are monitoring us, they're going, we came here thinking these guys might be dangerous to us. They're going to wipe themselves out. We don't have to worry about them.
Wasn't that the plot?
Was everything a lie? Just, what, deleted scene? If you want to be happy in life, just assume it's all a lie. And then just be pleasantly surprised if you find out something
I would argue,
isn't.
assume everything's true.
No, you will always be disappointed. Right? The pessimist is rarely disappointed and occasionally pleasantly surprised. The optimist is almost always
right.
What is it? The optimist says the glass is half full. The pessimist says it's half empty, and the engineer says it's at 50% capacity.
Oh, that's funny.
My mother and father, God rest their souls, testified to the fact that yes, some people thought it was real. My parents among them, and Orson Welles. Yeah, but they didn't shoot anybody, or nobody died.
I think people sensationalized it, but yeah, there probably were people that thought it was real. I heard the problem with
there's a difference between thinking it might be real and then paying. Look, let's face it. It's just like when you're paying attention to the news and you're like, "Well, that's something that's happening in California. What do I give a fuck?" Boy, I'm interested. Let me watch.
Remember the deep fake video a few months ago of Trump running away and they were coming to arrest him, and that was a fake video. Remember that? The people were thinking that was real.
Yeah. Oh, there's still... Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. I guess the more things, change, the more they stay the same and whatnot. Even in the modern day, it's so easy to convince people of bullshit, and they'll never believe otherwise, I'd say 80% of people at this point have completely changed their opinion about lockdowns and masks and jabs and stuff. But there's still a good percentage of people that are like, "Oh, it saved our lives." Okay, fine. You take more jabs until you have a stroke. Keep going. Don't stop. Yeah, absolutely. All right, take care, Matanui. Thanks for hanging out with us. Vernon Wells, thank you. That's the name that Netter was trying to think of. Do you know, Troy? Alan is working with Tom now. I did not know that. Did not know that. Let's see. And my mother didn't want to watch anything involving Orson Welles because of War of the Worlds. Terrified her. So he did a pretty good job, huh? I think you can do it, considering that a lot of cartoons did their own version of War of the Worlds, like Flintstone, Hey Arnold, and Futurama did parody versions. Absolutely. Speaking of which, and as long as you still have, you got to back up, because I was just about to say something about War of the Worlds.
There you go, War of the Worlds. Okay.
There is a book trilogy, and I don't know the author. Maybe someone can let me know. The Tripod trilogy.
Tripods, yes. I've been curious about reading that, because it's as if the aliens succeed in their invasion, which was actually H.G. Wells' original ending. All the stuff about the artilleryman talks about, how people living underground. That was how he wanted to end the book, but I think the publisher fought back on it. So
yeah,
that's what he decided. The
Tripods was a trilogy, and I don't know who the author was, and I haven't even read it. I saw the first two. The whole series of books was turned into 3 seasons of a BBC series called The Tripods that we got here on PBS after Doctor Who. So depends. It was Doctor Who. It was also Blake 7. So sometimes
or Tripods,
and they'd intersperse them. And I got to see the first 2 seasons, and they never picked up the 3rd season. So I'm like, here it is 40 years later, and it's still on my, I got to read those books, you know. Hell, these days it's probably, the audiobooks are probably here on YouTube somewhere. I walked out of Blair Witch Project because I thought it was boring and annoying, and I didn't finish the movie. You know, maybe when we get around to the Halloween season, I might
do a Blair Witch rewatch.
I might do a rewatch of Blair Witch 2, and whatnot.
I agree. It was a boring ass movie.
I'm with you. I understand, but obviously, when I do a rewatch, I'm going to be talking over it and
I've heard some people claim it's the greatest attempt to.
I am going to talk about.
So you're going to make it interesting?
I hope to. I'm going to talk about the viral marketing and so forth that I think really made it what it was. It was the dawn of analog horror. Yeah. We'll talk about that too. Save that for October. Flintstones did a good War of the Worlds spoof. Band called The Way Out. Yeah, I remember that. Way Out. I think the way Ender's Game's aliens assumed we were annoying wildlife instead of intelligent. You know, they're not wrong. That's not wrong. And Connie loves this book. John Big Boutte and others have SS cards dated November 1st, 1938. Yep. Never underestimate the power of a large group of stupid people. That's very, very true. Alan is working with them thanks to you and Netter in part. Yeah, that's right. We did put them together. Good. Together we grow. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I've been asking for data from anti-vaxxers to back up their conspiracy theories, and no one has ever been able to back it up. I would be happy to share that information with you, Six. I would say that what you have to do is stop looking at the CDC and the U.S. government. Start looking at other countries. They're not held up by obligations to Pfizer and the other American pharmaceutical companies.
But they could be talking about older vaccines too.
Oh, I could not speak to that at all. Yeah. I'm only speaking about the so-called
recent, yes,
the recent COVID experimental gene therapy that is neither a vaccine nor does it prevent transmission.
Anyway.
And that has been admitted by Pfizer at this point. That's not even in question anymore. I'm not talking about any other vaccines. I don't know anything about, previous
Smallpox,
vaccines.
Stuff like that, I guess, yeah. What was it, though?
Speaking of Orson Welles, what was his last theatrical performance?
I want to say, I think I know. I think it's Transformers, the animated movie, correct? The Transformers movie?
Oh, right. I think I do remember that.
I think he made some comment. I made a movie about toys hurting each other. I think he's what he said.
Deleted scenes. Remind me when we get closer to October. I'll pull you in on that.
Yeah.
As someone who grew up hiking with Scout Camp, some of the stuff in Blair Witch is, that's an interesting perspective, Samuel, because that's kind of what I thought too as I was watching it. Right?
Well, would you rather be stuck in the woods with the Blair Witch or a bear? I'm sorry.
There's a lot of depends on that, right? Because I told you the story about how I ran into a bear in the woods, right?
No way. Dude, tell me the
story. Okay, so I was out with the scouts. We were camping in tents and whatnot. And we were literally on the top of a hill that if we had put the problem is it was a Friday night when we got there and it was very late, so we were putting up our tents, in the dark. Yes. If we had put our tents up any closer to that hill, it's very possible we could have rolled off that hill into the river, which wouldn't have been a big deal. It would have just been very, very annoying. But Anyway, we were at the top of this hill, got up in the morning, and I had to pee something terrible, and I'm like, I'm going to go down to the river. I think that's how I'm going to do this. I go down to the river. I get down to the river, and on the other side of the river, and this is not like a big, it's a creek is what it really is. It's not really a river. It's a creek. I could walk across it. On the other side of the creek is a bear. I mean, a big, full-on, I'm assuming it was a grizzly, black bear. Goodness. And it was huge. And it was one of those things where because I was blurry-eyed, I was at the river by the time I saw it. It looks up at me. I look up at it. I forgot everything that I knew about how to deal with the circumstance like that. And I went, ah! The bear went, roar! And I had no idea what happened after that because I took off up that hill. I did not think I could get up a hill so quick. All the other scouts come out, and the scout leader comes out of their tent, and they're laughing their asses off. I'm like, what are you laughing at? The scout leader says, Troy, he says, you didn't see it because you were running up the hill. You scared the shit out of that bear. It went running in the other direction like its tail was on fire. I'm like, well, that made two of us, damn it.
That was anyway, though.
And he used it as a teaching moment. He goes, that's not how you're supposed to deal with that circumstance. But in this case, it worked.
Yeah. But that was like a scene from Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, where Snoopy answers the door.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I had never thought about that.
Anyway.
If it's a vaccine, then explain to me why it's never been taken off emergency use authorization. Emergency use authorization means it's experimental. It's not been tested, and they can't make the claim that it is a vaccine. They literally changed, the CDC literally changed the definition of vaccine for this purpose. And there's still cases pending up to the Supreme Court right now about this. It was the voice of Unicron in Transformers. I was thinking that it was Optimus Prime, but yes, that's probably true. You guys know Transformers way better than I would. I wouldn't trust pharmaceutical companies any more than I can throw them. That being said, I am in favor of medicine that has been around for a while. Yeah, look, this is something that my mother told me when I said I had wanted to go into medical research. She's like, you got to be careful. You don't test on, and I'm like, look, there's rules. You don't test on yourself. This isn't like a B horror film. I'm not going to be, but yeah, there's rules for what you have to do to be able to make certain claims, and if it's still experimental, yeah, I don't want to get off on a tangent.
We're talking about books here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Michael Knowles has a miniseries documentary on the history of. Oh yeah, Fauci. Yeah, the look up the book, the real Fauci. Those of us who lived through the '80s remember him in charge of the AIDS epidemic, and it's very interesting that people are saying that COVID now is having a very AIDS-like effect on people. I wonder why. Just. It makes you think. Okay, guys.
Let's see. Want to move on?
Okay, now I know you're trolling us, Six. Yeah. Ivermectin is a well-established medication for humans. Okay, you're believing the internet bullshit. All right.
Oh, did I get lost?
Yep. With his rant, he kind of dropped out. I
don't think they can hear you either.
No, I just unmuted me.
Oh, I see.
Can you hear me, right, Boomer? Okay, there we go.
Okay, you're back.
Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, no, it's ivermectin is yeah.
Okay.
You made Troy
I mean that's like calling it a horse dewormer and you shouldn't be taking it because you're a human. That's like what? That's like saying water is a horse lubricant and humans shouldn't be drinking it.
She said, or Six said, I never said it wasn't for humans.
Okay, all right.
Boone's cat said she booted him.
Yeah, she booted me from my own stream.
Anyway, let's move on to the next book.
Oh, very good. Very good. Go ahead.
All right. Anyway, The Weird Tales of Conan the Barbarian, Robert E. Howard. Obviously, there have been tons of different titles for Conan the Barbarian, but I did get into reading the Conan stories as well. Big fan of these. All right.
Am I correct that Conan is considered bad now by the modern feminists, right?
Because everything's considered bad now. Everything that was written by
male gaze and toxic and all of that, right?
Yes, it's dead white males.
By the way, Andre from Midnight's Edge has a couple of great videos up about Conan. If you have any interest in Conan, get over to Midnight's Edge and check those videos out. They are definitely worth it.
All right. But big fan of the Conan stories and also Robert E. Howard in general. Actually, my favorite Robert E. Howard stories are the ones that took place in modern times, or at least his modern times. He kind of brought the fantasy of the past still existed in the modern world, which I thought was interesting in some forms. But,
now, isn't it that like Hyperborea, his whole theory was that this was Earth in prehistory?
Okay,
like
here was the explanation for the Hyperborean age. Robert E. Howard wanted Conan to go have one story take place in an equivalent to India, another story might take place in Norwegian country. So he basically said that in this pre-age, before a great cataclysm, all these countries were kind of squashed together on one big continent. This way Conan gets to travel around all these different areas. And instead of Indians, I think you have Vendians as their name, but you can tell they're supposed to be the ancestors of the Indians, and same for Egyptians and other groups. Sumerian, I don't know exactly what Conan the Sumerian was. I always got the impression that he was an ancestor of like the Celts. That it was really supposed to be a Celtic race that existed before the Celts. Yeah. I could be wrong there, though, but that was my impression.
I love the idea of a purely fantasy setting, but I do think that he was going on the whole, like...
Lost civilization thing.
Yeah, and I mean, this has become a very big area of interest now for people that... and even, like, real anthropologists are saying, look... we can only trace history back as far as we have archaeological evidence of. Before a certain point, if people had writing or buildings or anything like that, they would have been lost. So if there was societies prior to, like, Ur, for example, we would have no way of knowing. And in fact, we've had some archaeological digs implying that history goes back farther than we thought, but, maybe there was a whole, advanced civilization that was wiped out before, modern humans started. Who knows? It's possible. I still can't tell the difference between Conan and He-Man.
The action figures were really supposed to be Conan action figures.
Exactly.
Right?
They originally wanted to do Conan action figures. I think Andres talked about this too. That the He-Man figures, they wanted to do Conan figures and couldn't get the rights. So they decided, kind of like how Lucas wanted to do Flash Gordon and couldn't, so he made his own thing. Imagine that. I can't do what I want to do, so I'm just going to make my own thing. I wish more people would start doing that again. But yeah, that's how we got He-Man. In fact, there is a figure, and I've seen videos on YouTube that have said contradictory things, so I don't know what the actual truth is. But there was a figure that is colloquially and in the modern day called Wondar. It was a figure that was released that was basically using the He-Man sculpt, but it had different colors and different accoutrement with it. And a lot of people think that it was based on the original prototype for the Conan figure before they decided to do He-Man, and they made it into a giveaway of some kind. That's where the controversy comes up. Some say it had to do with Wonder Bread. Other people say it had to do with some other promotion that they were doing where they gave this figure out as a giveaway if you send in proof of purchase or something. I don't know what the actual history is because I was never a collector of those figures, so I never really followed it. Sorry, got a little away from you there.
But yeah, someone mentioned that Solomon Kane is their favorite Robert E. Howard character. I think that was I wanted to say that Bran McMorn is mine. I did like.
All of you Robert E. Howard fans, definitely, if you're not already subscribed to Midnight's Edge, you need to be, because Andre talks about him a lot.
Yeah, it's like I said.
When you cast the role with an Austrian, that's what happens, You know
what's interesting? Robert E. Howard's favorite type of writing to do was actually historical fiction, but he wrote the fantasy, the sword and sorcery for money. But yeah, I did read some of his stories set during the Crusades. They were always interesting.
Marvelous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!" See, I did watch the shows. I was just not into the toys at all.
Look at this, though.
Gorilla Random Thoughts. Hopla! Welcome. Oh, The Hobbit, yeah.
You like this one?
How many of you were like me?
Cover? Remember that cover from the 70s? Remember that?
I do. I knew of Tolkien. I had seen the books. I knew a lot of friends who were really into it. The couple that took me to my first Renaissance fair with a buddy of mine from school, they were super into Tolkien. The husband sang some song from Tolkien that made his wife cry. And I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was the Rankin and Bass and the Ralph Bakshi cartoons. But how many of you guys were like me that after the movies came out, you were like, yeah, maybe I better read these damn books. And I just read them, boom, straight through. I got the 3-pack, and read them straight through.
I was different. I was in, that was senior year of high school where I think I had to read The Hobbit for a book report. And I loved it so much I had to read the other books.
If you're still here, PJ, I am frickin' drunk right now.
Unfortunately,
you may not be able to tell, but I'm plastered.
Unfortunately, the teacher would not let me read the other three. The Lord of the Rings trilogy for my other 3 book reports. I had to read different authors, but
hold on. This is actually a great idea, Netter.
Yeah.
How about some bookshelf tour videos? I'd love to see your collection.
Oh, that's interesting. You could do that on your channel, Netter.
Yeah, I mean, I do have them separated out by genre.
Take them, one genre at a time.
Well, one whole bookcase, just cookbooks.
I think there's content. The 6 has a great idea, so
maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
I mean, Troy has an entire VHS collection of the original recordings of the Merv Griffin show.
It's funny you say that. I don't even know if such a thing exists. I wouldn't be surprised.
You can catch some of those old episodes on YouTube. There was one that had he had Charo, Orson Welles, and that British actor I keep forgetting the name of, Curse of the Werewolf.
Hobbitses, sneaking, lying hobbitses.
That's good. That's pretty good.
That's the first time I ever tried to do that. I guess it helps that I'm drunk.
Let me see. Hold on. Give me a second.
I actually read The Hobbit.
Okay, 6, if you are interested, reach out to me, DM me on Twitter. Give me a place where I can send to you. I'd be happy to do this for you. I have a DVD of the fan edit of the Hobbit movies that make it into the Hobbit. It's one movie that is just the story of the Hobbit. It takes out all the extra bullshit.
Now, I got interested in the Hobbit when I was a wee child. My brother, who's 10 years older than me, or was 10
She's
years
now a
older than me.
wee adult, by the way.
Yes, I'm a wee adult now. But when I was a wee child, a wee lass, my brother had read The Hobbit and all those. And I had asked him what he was reading, because he had just finished The Hobbit at this point. And he goes, oh, this book is called The Hobbit. It's by J.R. Tolkien, and he tells me the story of The Hobbit. I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Can I read it? And he just looked at me and laughed, because at the time I think I just turned 4. And he goes, sure, kid. Puts the book back on the bookcase, walks away, doesn't think anything of it. A couple hours later, my mom sees me sitting on the floor in front of the bookcase with the book open. She goes, oh, that's so cute. You're pretending to read. I'm like, no, Mom, I'm reading. She goes, oh, honey, you're not. You just turned 4. You don't know how to read yet. And I started reading from the book. And she's like, you're 4. How the heck are you reading? And that.
Okay, 6. I will get on Netter to do this, and once she gets the video up, I'll make sure that she reaches out and lets you know that it's up there.
But Rankin Bass, when they got on Cardura, I got so confused about why the story went from the ring being used by Bilbo to Frodo. Yes, because they skipped over the other parts, and I don't know if they did that because the Ralph Bakshi movie covered part of that, and they weren't allowed to do that.
See, I for years did not realize that was Bakshi and not Rankin Bass. I thought it was all part of the same line.
No, it's so confusing the way they handled that whole thing.
6. How can I reach out to you?
If he's on MeWe.
Netter, can you drop my email for 6? Well, I mean, drop it for everybody. I mean, actually, you know what? My email is in my YouTube
content.
Yeah, whatever
this book is about, and it should be in there.
Yeah,
anyway.
And if you send me an email, then I can contact you when Netter does the
okay,
thing.
I just dropped Troy's email in the.
Oh yeah, that does make it easier.
So when
Troy's one.
For me, hobbits were, well, look, hobbits and halflings were the same thing, and my first experience was when I went into high school and learned about Dungeons and Dragons.
The Rankin Bass.
See, that's, you know what? That's another good point, Boomer. books like this, these classics, influence so many other aspects of pop culture.
Oh, sure.
The Tolkien and whatnot, and a lot of other areas of mythology, but Tolkien in particular, so influenced Dungeons and Dragons, and there's generations, 2-3 generations that were very influenced by Dungeons and Dragons. The whole concept of role-playing games is because of Dungeons and Dragons. You know? You disagree?
I do. No, it is. It's just it's.
You do. Wait a minute. You do or you don't?
I do agree.
Oh, okay.
For
Okay.
other things.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I was thinking of something else. That's all.
Oh, okay. Fair.
But yeah, I did read Lord of the Rings in senior year because I just wanted to find out what happened next, and yeah. Oh, I'll get to Poe in a minute. He's on the list.
Murders in the Rue Morgue is my favorite.
Black Cat, mine, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
But I think I moved to Florida. I don't remember.
Oh, Netter's got a point. Netter's got a point there.
The Telltale Heart.
That's a good one.
That was the first one they had us read in school. That's why it resonates with me.
Yeah. Usher was the big one they had us read in school. The Hall House Usher, that was the one they had us read.
I haven't read that one yet. And I do have a collection of the works of Poe that I have not finished reading yet. It's in the same line as my what is it, Strand Magazine? Sherlock Holmes.
Here we have the novelization of Batman: Mask of the Phantasm that I read also.
There's a novelization of that?
A Batman.
Okay,
Mask of the
so let's step back for a second. I have a novelization of there's 2 novelizations I have that are based on a series of comic books. One is Batman No Man's Land. There was this whole series, I think it spanned the course of a year, where it was you know the story Escape from New York. This was Escape from Gotham City, basically, and Batman was nowhere to be seen, and the Robins and Nightwing and Batgirl and whatnot were fighting against the factions that were forming up in the underworld. It was very, very interesting stuff. But they made a novelization of that. It was a great way for me to kind of get caught up on the overall story. Right. They did the same thing with the death of I think it was called The Death and Rebirth of Superman or something. Yeah. Took a year's worth of comics and distilled them into a novel. It was brilliant.
If you go hunting for it, there was a BBC series, The Death and Return of Superman. Did you know that?
No! Really?
Audio, yes. Because I got out from the library once. It's a complete audio, radio drama. And I have to give credit to whatever British actors they picked. They could do the American accents well if they were in fact British actors. And it was the whole Death and Return of Superman, and it was done as a radio program. Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, but this is the novelization of Mask of the Phantasm, the animated Batman movie. There were some
hold on, let me go ahead and answer this question since I got it up and I can only focus on one thing at a time because I'm drunk.
Yes.
The next movies. Actually,
what did
I say I was going to do?
It's going to be a double feature this Monday.
Do you remember what I know? I said what it was.
Look on your channel. Hold on.
No, I haven't put it up yet.
Well, heck, I don't know then.
Give me a second. It was I actually don't remember, Pootie. If you got a suggestion, let me know. I thought I
and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach. No, I don't know.
I totally could, but no,
the
that's
witches.
not what
You can do the witches. Actually, that's another Roald Dahl story too. I'm thinking
of. No, if I'm going to do a Roald Dahl story, it's going to be BFG.
Okay, yeah, there's that too. They did my 6th grade classroom, had it on the bookshelf, and I ended up reading it. Yeah, but this is Mask of the Phantasm. Some differences from the movie in that when the one guy is paying off the Joker to kill Batman, the one mobster, you find out that the thing was filled with counterfeit money.
Pootie says he's upset he missed out on Bo Derek a couple of weeks ago. You know what you do? Go check out the movie 10. You can kind of skip over Bolero. Bolero's not that good. good.
You're gonna do those. You're gonna do the Mata Hari movie at some point, though, right? Sylvie Christie.
I'm trying to. I know I must have seen Mata. No. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a Playboy spread that came out as part of the
Right.
Yeah, my dad subscribed to Playboy, so I got to see a lot of things that a high school boy should not have been seeing.
Okay.
Just a lot of boobs, really.
True.
Anyway, I'm just saying they did a novelization, and the day I test speak. This day I test. Oh yeah, that's a good one. The Master Phantasm soundtrack. I had that on audio tape back in the 90s.
French Connection.
I bought the tape. I eventually got the CD off eBay years later.
Okay, Pootie's making a lot of great suggestions for double features.
The double Romancing the Stone.
I'm gonna have to start taking notes. This is good stuff. It was a movie directed by. Yes, I know that. I think saying it's bad goes without saying. Was it also a canon film? Just wondering.
Anyway, let's move on. 1984. George Orwell.
I could do a twofer. I could do Mata Hari and Ghosts Can't Do It.
Okay. George Orwell. What? I don't. What?
That's another Bo Derek film.
George Orwell, 1984. You ever read this book?
I actually, you know what, Pootie? I could do A Fish Called Wanda and Big Fish.
Okay. Look.
Yeah, I know. We're fucking living it now, dude. Why should we read the book?
Anyway, well, the book.
Seriously, read 1984 and weep at how much it reflects the world today.
Well, I keep thinking, what was one of the lines in the book? We've always been at war with Eurasia or some other, whatever the other nation was.
Yeah.
It's like when someone said there always been female custodians in Warhammer. No, it's like a 1984 comment. There weren't. We know there weren't. I had to read this one in high school. Great Gatsby. Remember this?
Not only do I remember that, that's the cover of my copy of The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, that
Look,
one tends to use
I read this because it was required reading in high school, right?
Yep, I read it too.
Real quick, let me say good night. Whoop, I'm saying good night to the wrong person. Good night to Six. Love you, Netter. That's sweet of you.
Aww, hugs us.
Yes, I'm gonna pester her to do a what did you say, like a bookshelf type thing? Yeah, that's great content. That's a great idea. So yes, thank you, Mark. Freedom is slavery. Yes, 1984. Just rewatched the original. Still disturbing. Absolutely. But definitely read the book. The Great Gatsby. This was the commentary. I'm forgetting who the English teacher was that recommended or made this required reading and had us analyze it and stuff. And there's this, she had this whole thing about the green light across the bay, and it has to do with envy and this and that. And I'm like,
oh, stop.
And I'm like, in my limited high school way, what I basically said was, sometimes a banana is just a banana.
Yeah, sometimes a banana. I have to admit, I don't. This is something, even as someone who has taught. They do this with poetry all the time. This is a great way to make sure that your students never develop a love of poetry by trying to tack on this means this and only this. And no, just please don't. I'm sorry. I know that's what they do. I don't know. Did you like the book? Okay, that's. Did you not like the book?
I did.
Answer why.
I love
but my point is, the student. Did you like the book? Did you not like it? Give me reasons why. It's okay not to like the readings. I would always say. Of course, I did a writing class, not a literature class, so I would say,
So
you don't have to like the fiction.
Yeah, this whole thing, the symbolism, and this. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes English teachers want to push this their interpretation of something, and like, you know what? That's the author. Let me figure it out for myself. I always think of the poem by Robert Frost, "The Road Not Taken." Right?
Here we go.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about. That's another one.
It was one that I had to memorize in high school, and I've only pulled it up because I'm, and I may not remember. So, real quick. So, The Road by Robert Frost. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on the way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled, and that has made all difference. So, I don't know about you, if you've read this poem before.
Yes.
Well, I'm talking to the chat. I know you have. I don't know if it was, required reading in your English class or literature class.
I know
but
what
I am guessing your teacher probably told you, how important it is to take the road less traveled. That makes all the difference. Be a trailblazer, right? And it's like, that's not what Frost is saying. You read the whole poem here. He's saying it doesn't make a fucking difference one way or another. You still end up getting out of the woods on the other side.
The interpretation I heard in my class was, this is the narrator making or the speaker, that's what the term is, reasoning why the road last year was better, but how would he know? Because he didn't take the other road.
Right. Well, that's a good point too. That's actually a reasonable. I would accept that one. I did not ever accept the one that my teacher gave me. No. That he chose the right one and it made all the difference. No, it didn't. You have no fucking clue. No.
It's just
all he did was work harder to get to the other side.
Yeah. Sometimes the harder road is worth it, and sometimes you made a mistake and you picked the harder path, right? I mean, it's like...
See, Nate makes a great point here.
Maybe there was a bear on the road more traveled. No.
Yeah, right. If I'd taken the easier one, that's where all the bear were hanging out, and I've been mauled to death, and I never would have made it. Nate makes a great point. It's and maybe this is why I'm such a big David Lynch fan. David Lynch and I would be totally simpatico on the whole death of the author thing, right? Where he makes an assertion and the interviewer says, "Would you like to elaborate on that?" No, I would not. He says all he is willing to say, and that's it. And really, you really want to know what David Lynch thinks? Rewatch the movie or whatever, because everything is there. And if you interpret it differently than he did, and you tell him that, his response will be, "That's a very interesting interpretation. Does it match up with yours? Maybe." He's very death of the author. Take from it what you will, And I feel the same way about poetry. And I don't like people telling me this is what it means.
Yes.
Anyway, The Great Gatsby was one of those for me,
I had to read a bunch of books in high school. Catcher in the Rye was another one. So was To Kill a Mockingbird. I remember reading that one.
Oh, I did a whole diorama on To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't do a diorama, I think, based on that book, but my brother, when he was a kid, did a diorama based on a house with a clock in its walls. Remember that one?
Yeah.
John Bellers. Okay.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you. I had forgotten. Yes, it's Enter the Dragon and The Last Dragon. Those are the ones I'm doing this week, and I will have those streams up probably tomorrow. Or I have that stream up tomorrow. Yeah. Go ahead. next one.
I'm just gonna say scary stories to tell in the dark.
And this is where I have to.
We're going younger now. Yes. Okay.
This is where I have to recommend another YouTuber. Check out John Solo. That's Jon Solo. He has a series of videos about scary stories to tell in the dark, where he compares. They did a movie or something like that.
They did a movie based on it. Yeah.
And each one of the stories is loosely related to the different stories in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And he explains the differences and why they're different, and very, very interesting stuff. But in addition to that compare and contrast, he also explains the relationship between both and the original folklore that it draws from.
Yeah. You have, let's see here, though, but I remember there was the big toe story in the book. Remember, the kid saw a big toe sticking out of the ground, so he just gives it a good hard jerk, and it came right off, and then he brought it home to his mom to make for supper. You like that? And there's more to the story than that, but I'm just saying, weirdness, horrifying, creepy illustrations in these books. I got all 3 volumes. I was very upset when I was waiting for the 4th volume to come out, and it was a best of volume, and I'm like, this is nonsense. Alvin Schwartz, get off your butt and make a 4th volume. I didn't realize till years later, he had died after he wrote the 3rd volume. That's why we didn't get a 3rd volume.
Well, get out of your grave and write another story, damn it.
I'll say this, though. The appendices or the stuff in the back of the books are also worth reading, because he does all the origins of all these stories. You figure out where they come from.
Yeah.
Like I think the one about the woman going to the church service for the dead, I think that originally comes from Sweden. But it was about the woman. She wakes up really early. She hears bells, and she's like, "I'm late for church." And she goes to church, and everyone's shrouded. And then someone comes up and says, "You shouldn't have come here. This is a service for the dead." And then suddenly they start noticing she's there, and they're like, "Get out!" And like they start clawing at her, and she runs out of the church, and one of them grabs like a piece of cloth from her shirt. And I think when she stopped by the church later, when everybody was up or something, she found the piece of cloth there or something,
So there's a story about
it's a creepy story. Nothing bad happens to her. She gets out of there, but it's like she was going someplace she shouldn't have gone at the wrong time, I guess. I don't know.
There is a story in Creepy Tales to Tell in the Dark called I don't remember the title, but it was about like a scarecrow. That's
Harold.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
It's based on a Scandinavian myth, the Senentucci. And there is a great movie from 2010. It's a Scandinavian film called the Senentucci. I talked about it in the stream we did talking about the Scandinavian films. It's on Tubi right now. Check it out. It's one of those. I can't talk too much about it. A Senentucci is essentially a scarecrow. It is creating an artificial person out of straw and stuff, and turning it into a I don't want to say a slave or servant or something like that. But the folklore is that some of these men that lived in the mountains would make a Senentucci wife to take care of the house and to take care of them.
Oh, whoa! No.
And this movie deals with a bunch of guys getting drunk and creating a Senentucci, and
don't do it.
Comes to life, and they don't treat her very well, and
not.
There's a huge twist ending that I don't want to ruin for you.
I need to see this. Okay.
Yes, Senentucci, Senentuntsch. Oh, screw it.
I'll ask you late tomorrow on Sunday. I'll ask you about it.
Yeah, it's in my list because I watched it and it messed my head up a little bit. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah. Had to read this in middle school. Required reading over the summer. That was just something
I've never heard of this one before.
Yeah, they sometimes schools will have. Here's your book you have to read over the summer. Make sure you have it read by the fall. What's the name of the book? A Day No Pigs Would Die. This was about Shakers who I assume were less fun versions of Quakers.
Less fun versions.
That's what I wanted to say. Shakers, they're the sinners, or something. I don't know.
Welcome, Tim Hayes.
The Quakers. Anyway, I did not care for this book. There's a horrifying scene in the book where they, we have to train your dog how to go after coyotes. We have a coyote in this barrel. Take your dog, and the minute the dog goes after the coyote, and it'll have a taste for the coyotes and always go after them. Then, of course, something goes horribly wrong in the barrel.
Of course it
I'm
does.
not going to get into details because I'm sure there's some dog lovers in the chat. And I think the book ends with they're going to starve in the winter, so they have to eat the pet pig, his pet pig that they've been raising all this time. They have to eat it or the family's going to starve. And
right.
I guess the idea is hopefully one day there'll be a day no pigs would die. Okay, blah, blah. Didn't like the book. I remember working in a chain bookstore once years back, and some guy came up and he was like, look, that's an evil novel, because I don't know if this ended up on a banned book list, and I just kind of nodded and agreed, yes, because I didn't like the book, so I didn't care if it was offensive to him. Oh, I did not like this book. Quakers don't smoke, don't drink, and they don't dance. I think Shakers were fun. Okay, so Shakers were more lenient. Okay. They didn't seem that they just so they could do a dance. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Edgar Allan Poe. You like Poe?
Yeah, it is kind of like a golem. Like absolutely, a golem. Nate. Yeah.
They had a great episode of Superboy about a golem. Remember that? A bunch of I think like a Jewish temple was being attacked by a certain group that rhymes with Yahtzee. And
I don't remember that, but
I think one of the young rabbis or someone in the church decides to make a golem to go after these, and Superman has to go up against the golem because eventually it's going to get out of control or whatever. And then later on, at the end of the episode, the one guy says, who's part of the community, says, golems in the right hands, they can be used as a force for good. And I think the guy helped out, and then you realize this guy is a golem. That was brought to life, and I thought it was interesting that it was basically saying, it's not the golem that's bad, it's I guess it's the creator, however they was made, because he actually was a golem that got turned for good and was, I guess, like a superhero for that community.
Nice.
Or something, but it was interesting, yeah. Have a complete collection of Edgar Poe, sit down and read them. Yeah, they're good. You can always do it one story at a time in the evening.
Oh yeah, that's just it. When you have a collection, you can do one story at a time, and
just
they go quick.
Like an hour or two. You probably get one read in an hour. They're great. Favorite story is The Black Cat, but he has many great stories. House of Usher.
Wait, before you go on. Black Cat. There's also a movie with.
There's lots of Black Cat adaptations. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the one with. Oh gosh. I want to say Boris Karloff and.
You're thinking of The Raven.
Is it The Raven? Oh, sorry.
Now the adaptation of The Black Cat was in another Roger Corman movie, which was, I believe, it was. Tales of Terror, and it had Peter Lorre was in it with Vincent Price, and I think one of the stories was The Black Cat, and Vincent Price was in all of them. It's kind of funny. There's a scene in the movie where they do a wine tasting thing, and one is a wine connoisseur, the other guy is a drunk, but he drinks so much that he's also a connoisseur, and it's Vincent Price versus Peter Lorre in a wine tasting contest, and it's funny. I think that's in The Black Cat story. I could be wrong. Or maybe it's the Casco Monticello.
Without giving too much away, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies has reminded me that sometimes people take and use as pseudonyms names from famous stories.
Yep.
And I see the name Annabelle Lee, and I'm like, No one comment.
But I know we're getting probably to the point of getting over to Rumble. I was hoping to finish this up, but we can, I guess, finish it up over there. What do you want to do?
Karloff and Lugosi, which story are you talking about?
Wait a minute. No, that's a black and white movie. He's right. No, there was another Black Cat made by Universal Studios, and that had Karloff and Lugosi.
That's the one I was thinking of. Okay. I was mistaken. Yeah.
That's another great adaptation. That was a great adaptation of Black Cat. In fact, it had a very modernist look to the house, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
It's a great horror movie.
But the reason I bring that up, very good films. Still, you probably want to read the book.
Yeah, the stories are great. They hold up well even today. There's some antiquated language, but I find it rather charming. But yeah, the 1930s. I know what you're talking about, Tim Hayes. Yes. I'm almost done here anyway. Let's just.
The Eyes of the Killer Robot.
The Eyes of the Killer Robot by John Bellers. Many people know John Bellers for the House with a Clock in Its Walls series, but he also wrote
which Netter's a big fan of. I had to buy her that movie.
Yeah,
with Jack Black.
Yeah, but he also wrote the Johnny Dixon mysteries, which had kind of a similar vibe to them, kind of horrific type stuff. And Edward Gorey did all the artwork for these books. See, that's
nice.
Edward Gorey artwork. But this was an interesting book. I think the bad people in it, and it's really curious, I think they were trying to create a fake baseball player to help them win at baseball or something. But it was I think he actually, I don't know if he ends up being going into the Yankee Stadium or something at some point in the book. It was a good little book, the Johnny Dixon mysteries. That was his other big series. 1960s horror film starred Vincent Price and Peter Lorre. Yep. And then there we got to my last book on here. I'm going back in order of big books that influenced me. The Berenstain Bears.
Oh, I love the Berenstain Bears. Gosh.
This was the creepy one.
I remember the spooky old tree. Yep. I read all of the Berenstain Bears. And you know how I did it? Mm-hmm. They were in the school library. I took one after the other.
Go to your local library. Yep. We may have to continue school libraries on Rumble. That might be an interesting break point to that. But that's it for my little brief presentation, which I guess wasn't as brief as I thought it would be. But how do I get rid of this thing now? I got to remove it.
I can remove
from
it.
student. Well, I can do it. Okay, you do it then. All right.
Fine, you do.
But
you would have to hit stop sharing. But
actually, it's the midnight hour. Did you want to switch over to Rumble?
I am. I'm going to switch over. Are you staying with me, Boomer? Or do you have to work tomorrow?
I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'll stick around for a bit. Yeah.
All right. Let me. So I am going to be shutting down the YouTube stream now. If you want to join us for the rest of the stream over on Rumble, I would not only appreciate it, I would ask you to come on over and follow me over there, because if anything ever happens to this YouTube channel, that's where my stream is going to be every Friday.
Okay. I love this from Sir Torrent Gang. Library. Sounds like a dishonest fruit.
A library. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, join us over on Rumble. We'll continue the fun time.
And Nate, wait, before we do, let's say goodnight to Nate Pacelli's. Unfortunately, tonight I will be able to follow you.
Unable
to follow us over on. I got to hit the hay. Need to be at work tomorrow early. It was great hanging out with everybody. Nate, just remember, you can always catch that Rumble stream tomorrow. You know, it'll still be up there if you want to see what we said after you left. We're going to talk about you now. But no, seriously, get over to Rumble. Let me drop that one more time for you all.
And you can pin it to the top.
Yes, I probably should, right? Let me go back to my previous...
No, just go to the same one. Go to your Rumble.
Nope.
And just hit pin. Replace pin message.
Yep.
There you go.
There we go. So we'll be over on Rumble. Come hang out with us if you are so inclined for the wrap up and.
Well, we're going to talk about. I'm going to read notes about what's currently going on in the publishing industry.
Yeah. We're shifting from what we've been reading to what's going on now.
Some interesting things I read on a blog. Okay. Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me on YouTube. Hope that you come hang out with me on Rumble, and please follow me on Rumble in case anything ever happens to this channel, which, let's face it, is entirely possible. So, good night, YouTube.
And Boomer, I want to know what you did to your YouTube stream.
I made it private because we're moving to Rumble.
Okay.
I didn't know how to cancel the stream on my site, so I figured I'll just make it private for now.
Okay.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
No, but I figured we want everybody to go to Rumble. This is the Rumble time, right? But that's what I did. I went to edit stream and went into private.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're. Well, actually, then what you ought to do is click up in the upper corner, and I think you can. Let me
stop
see,
the stream. I don't know how to
Boomer.
do that. That's why
I can do it. I could do it. Do you want me to stop your YouTube?
Stop mine. Yes, stop mine. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah, you don't